What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Home Slice. I've been working on sharpening this 12C27 Petrified Fish PF719. Really cool model. 12C27, wooden handle, ultra drop shutty. Detent rockets it out of there. So a very, very cool knife design overall. But recently, I have had a really difficult time deburring it. So I don't know if there's something that's wrong with my technique in the way that I'm holding this particular knife, or whether they have heat treated this fairly soft. I know 12C27 can be very soft and malleable. I have consulted with the great internet community about ways that you can remove a difficult burr. I've reached out to my friend Max, who runs the company Stropping Stuff, to get some suggestions. So tonight I'm just going to try all of them and best test what my original edge is for sort of a ballpark of where we're starting at. And then each time I will sharpen it up on 1200 grit electroplated diamond and then Spyderco Ultrafine to try to get a really minimal amount of burr, which I hope would mean that it would be easier to remove. And then we're going to try about 11 different methods to see of increasing severity, to see if we can get that burr to totally pop off. What am I hoping for? Well, I'm hoping to approach 100 bests. My friend Alex using some of these methods on a K390 Spyderco, which is obviously a whole different animal, deburred with a rod from a Spyderco and was hitting around about 90 bests straight off the stone. And so I'd like to hit a deburring method which takes 12C27 and gets it to some of these low best numbers that I've seen from some of these harder steels. I don't know, those of you sharpeners, if you want to speak into this, if you have best machines, if that's been impossible for you or possible, what methods you might have used. I'd definitely be keen to hear. But anyway, I'm going to set the edge real quick and then we'll take a measurement of where we're starting. Okay, the first method that I am sort of trying here is to attempt to keep the burr small and pass it back and forth using sort of edge leading strokes and alternating stroke directions each time. Let's see what we're hitting off of the electroplated diamond stone by itself first, and then we'll hit the Spyderco Ultrafine and see what happens to that number. Now this is sort of what I have been experiencing. I don't know if you can see that, but the best number that I'm hitting off of this is up at 402. And I've just raised a burr both sides, alternated passes till you can't feel it anymore on 1200 grit easy lap stone. It's not sharpening, it's not shaving, but it feels quite keen. Actually, it is taking off a few hairs, just one or two hairs. Very curious. 400 is like dull. It's like dull, that's what the reading should be. So it's odd to me that an edge which, maybe isn't done the most thoroughly, but has been apexed, would return a reading of 402. Let's take it to the Spyderco Ultrafine and see what happens next. I'm going to alternate strokes the whole time on this, and I'm going to go heel to tip, tip to heel, because that's another of the tips that I got from Max to sort of begin to do preliminary shrinking of the burr. So. Okay, so a decent amount of alternating strokes on that. On a Spyderco Ultrafine, man, it's still not shaving. It is so odd that a blade would come off of careful edge leading strokes on the Spyderco Ultrafine not shaving. There's spots. There's spots that are doing okay. Okay, well, we'll test it and then maybe I'll raise a burr and cut it off and see if it's any better. $417. 417. Ah, that is so crazy. Like, oh man, that's enough to make you doubt your sanity, isn't it? Well, it's, you know, enough to make you doubt whether you're a very good sharpener. I think hand sharpening is sort of analogous to like golf, you know, like these like old golfers, like they say that like you hone your craft and get better and better and better, and some days you just totally tank it. And it has to do with your like physical consistency and your like confidence. And I feel like hand sharpening is kind of like golf in that respect. Like sometimes you're just on your game, sometimes something messes with you, and then you have a week where you're like, I can't do anything. At least for me. I don't know if it's for you guys. Maybe you guys are better sharpeners than I am. But also, just like golf, I feel like it just like keeps you coming back for more. You're like, I want to do better. just like an old golfer who's, you know, trying to get his game back, you know? Anyway, maybe not. Maybe you guys all have these lovely rosy sharpening experiences. Okay, I've now raised a burr on one side on the Spyderco Ultrafine, and I'm going to attempt to, in one firm stroke, or two, it's going to need two, to shear off that burr, kind of putting my pressure to the front of the apex. In my experience, if you raise a burr on a Spyderco Ultrafine, when you first cut it off, you will very often have a shaving sharp edge, although here I am, you know, I am fiddling with it to the extent, and this sometimes ruins it for me, so we'll see how this goes. That felt like it came off. Yep, so now we're shaving cleanly. It's a scrape shave, admittedly, but we raised a burr on the Spyderco Ultrafine, and then we cut it off, and now it's shaving. After shaving, there's a tiny bit of edge bend, which is problematic. It suggests that there's probably a bit of foil burr still there, but let's see what kind of number we have with this shaving sharp edge and if it's better than 400, hopefully. Okay, 252. My gosh, after 402 and 411, I will take a 252. My goodness. Okay, the next method, I'm gonna leave that 252 edge and just see if we can get it any better, because this is the method that we will be using with the other stones. The next method I'm going to try is sort of what's described or recommended by Jared over at Neves Knives, which is that you do edge leading strokes on fine diamond OCB, and you sort of move in a lateral motion across the stone, attempting to sort of snag the burr, as he calls it, and pull it off. So let's see if we can accomplish that. He gets really good results on steels like 14C28N, and so he seems to know what he's doing. Okay, we're doing 17 degrees per side. By the way, I've just done some foundational strokes and then 10 kind of featherweight strokes on the 7 to 5 micron, 5 to 7 micron side of the Veneve OCB. This is a 25% concentration stone, so very gentle. And then I've done 10 alternating strokes on the 5 to 3 to 5, I should say, micron side of it. Shaving much more easily. I'm anticipating better than 252, but this Petrified Fish knife has a habit of making me look silly. I know it can get sharp. I've dual grit sharpened it down in the like 150 to 170 range, which is okay for a dual grit edge. In fact, I used it as an example in my Sandrin video where I said I'm not doing tungsten carbide anymore because steels like this stay functionally sharp longer. So I have got it feeling sharp before. But as I'm coming up to testing, I like to know that I've fully deburred, and it's nice if you can get it at or under 100 grams best. And I just have struggled to get there. Only down to 235. That is so weird. Okay, for attempt number 3, I'm going to be drawing on some of the wisdom from Gunny over at Gunny Juice. He says that if you've still got some burr that's left over, sometimes you can cut into a piece of wood and it will leave some of that flaky metal in the wood. Sometimes you can even see it, and he demonstrates that, so we're going to try. Oh yeah, I can see that is dark. Well, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but Gunny from Gunny Juice says that when you cut into a piece of wood, you'll be able to see some of the metal shavings, and it'll be dark. And then as you go along, it will get lighter, and you can stop when it gets lighter. And I have to say, it did start out dark, and it did get lighter. So that's interesting. That's very interesting. And we're still shaving. So let's see what that's done. $235. That's the exact same reading. So, you know, so far not so good. All right, Max from Stroppy Stuff takes a Spyderco rod. I think he used Triangle Sharp Maker Ultra Fine. I think I get more uniform results. I don't have an Ultra Fine, so I think I get more uniform results from my Gauntlet rods that are quite smooth. And he shines a flashlight down from the spine of the knife, and I'll have to clean this off so that I can see. I'm going to have a hard time capturing it with my sort of GoPro style action camera, but he actually catches a glint of light when you're looking down from the spine of the knife. You have to get it really clean because any dust and stuff will catch the light, but yeah. And here I can see some areas that appear somewhat bent. So when he identifies an area that's somewhat bent, he'll take and watch till the edge, the shadow under the edge kind of disappears, and then try to take that off manually. I can feel that's flipped a burr, and I'm going to visually check. Yep. I don't know if you can see in the video, but it does pop a little rim of light down there at the very edge apex. I've got it especially bad down here at the heel of the blade. So I'll try to take that off. I'm not getting quite the right angle because the burr that I can feel is not gone. With this method, it's possible you may need to increase your angle slightly. Flip the burr back to the other side. Go very lightly. It's just dancing back and forth. I can feel it. Yeah, I can feel this burr just flipping back and forth, even though I'm trying to hit just at that edge angle. So another thing that he said is that for very, very ductile steels, you may have to increase your edge angle in order to get rid of that burr. So I'm going to attempt now to not go at the edge angle I've been going at, which is 17 degrees, but see if I can micro bevel it a little bit higher. Let's see. Okay, the burr that you can feel has stopped flipping side to side. The burr that I could see is no longer visible with the flashlight. So if Max's trick is going to work on a steel at this hardness, I think we've accomplished what he generally does. And we're even higher at 270. Do you guys see how crazy this is? This thing is popping hairs off of my arm, and it's reading 270. Have you guys experienced anything like this? It's just really difficult to get rid of that foil burr. Okay, I'm going to redo the edge apex because we've begun micro beveling it, and I don't want it to get too rounded over. So I'm just gonna make sure we raise the burr again at this 17-degree angle on the diamond. Shouldn't take long. And then redo it on the Spyderco Ultrafine, and then we'll do our next deburring method. Okay, I've used the method that got us back to 252 of raising a burr on the Spyderco Ultrafine and then just cutting it off, because the edge leading method earlier left us with a number around 400. So the next method that I'm going to try is suggested by a guy named Luong La, probably pronouncing that wrong, but knife tester maker, and he scrapes with, it's also, Murray Carter uses a sort of similar method, but he scrapes a piece of wood with the knife, and it bends over any of the metal that is, you know, bendable, which is your wire edge or your burr. It kind of pulls that over to the side using the wood with totally perpendicular scraping strokes. And then after that, he will also use a Spyderco rod, similar to Max, to try to do an edge leading stroke and pull backwards and cut that damaged metal off. That's how he often deburrs. Can't feel any remaining burr. Let's see how we did on that. .237. Pretty much exactly what we got off of the OCB stones and after cutting into wood, but not any better. Okay, next thing we're going to try is Plateau sharpening. This method is somewhat explained or endorsed by Justin at Engineer's Perspective, and you kind of cut off the edge with your stone, and then you try to bring it back to a place where it's feeling aggressive but never raise an actual burr. So we're going to see how that works. I'm going to remove it with 3 strokes here. Oh, that's a painful sound. Okay, we've removed the edge, and now we're going to try to bring it back without a burr. Use edge trailing strokes because we've already attempted edge leading strokes, so just see how it goes. Feel each stroke to see if you can feel the presence of that edge having come back. It's a bit hard with this steel to get it to come back without forming an additional burr. Giving it my best shot there. We're not sharpening, or we're not shaving. I'm afraid we haven't got back to the apex. Okay, holy cow. That was miserable. That was so miserable. Oh my goodness. If some of you guys do plateau sharpening, I need some tips because that was not fun. The Spyderco Ultrafine flattened the tip and then I just couldn't get it to come back. I think the Spyderco Ultrafine doesn't take off enough metal to reform that apex super quickly. Maybe I need to be using something more like a 1000 grit GIS Waterstone or something like that. That'll eat away the metal a little bit faster. But eventually I just switched back to the OCB 7 to 5 micron stone because I couldn't get the apex cut again. Even so, it just took forever to get it back to where it's popping some hairs. I couldn't find the apex after we cut it off. It was quite difficult. Anyway, you plateau sharpeners, you need to give me your tips. What am I doing wrong? Because 269, that just wasn't a fun experience, and I don't know what could have done better. What could have been done better? This is a bit of a beast. All right. Okay, we've reset that edge. The same method that we've been using usually lands us in the mid 200s. Next up on the agenda, we are going to attempt a deburring method sort of inspired by Vadim Krychuk, epic knife sharpener from Knife Grinders, who says that if you use 1 micron diamond, if I remember correctly, followed up by high angle pass on chromium oxide, followed up with unloaded kangaroo leather, if you wish, that you can get some good deburring characteristics. So we're going to give that a shot. We'll do 10, 10, 10 strokes anyway, 10 per side. Using Stroppy stuff, 1 micron, which is the best diamond emulsion that I have ever experienced or found. Vadim likes to say that the 1 micron diamond, at least in a mechanized buffer or polisher, will be the most effective to de-root the burr, if I remember correctly. And then for softer steels, you need to increase the angle slightly. I'm doing that by doing the same angle, but on a hanging kangaroo leather strop loaded with pure chromium oxide, so that that leather just wraps around just the edge of the apex there. All right, time to pull in the big guns. I'm going to take that edge that's already undergone some deburring attempts, and we're going to give it 15 strokes on 4 micron stroppy stuff on a flat kangaroo leather strop. Okay, now I reckon we will either have totally destroyed the edge by over rounding it, or that ought to have done some work of deburring. We're still up at 190. It's getting better. Okay, I want to test what happens when we use some of this 4 micron stroppy stuff straight off of the diamond plate edge leading strokes, because that is what Alex at Outdoors 55 generally does. Slightly larger size of diamond abrasive and edge leading strokes. Of course, he's cool and he does like ambidextrous, and I don't know how to do that, but we're gonna give his method a shot. Okay, 211. That's exactly the same as the protocol from Vadim Krychek. Let's do an additional 5 strokes on this 3M micro pour tape. See if that does anything more. Four micron stroppy stuff, diamond on micro pour tape. My friend Alex, who gave me this knife, said that he really likes the feel of the edge on this particular knife with some 3 micron. In the micro pour medical tape. We're back up to 287. On diamond stone, and hit it on the hanging denim strap with mother's mag and see what kind of number that gives us. Okay, I've drawn this edge trailing because sometimes edge trailing will form a bit of a foil burr. To use a hanging denim strap with a edge that has a bit of a foil burr is a method that Dr. Todd Simpson on the Science of Sharp uses for his straight razors. I've found some good results with that at times with my outdoors knives, which often have more ductile or softer kinds of steel, more toughness oriented steels. So we're going to see if that bears some fruit here. I have no idea how many strokes I've done, but anyway, I don't know, we'll shoot for about 15 per side, I guess. Okay, I don't think I'm even gonna best test that. It's not shaving. I can feel it's rolled over completely to one side. I don't know why it did that. Oh, this steel is throwing me for a loop, guys. Okay, I think the only things left that I am gonna try to do are bringing out the big gun. In terms of the stroppy stuff compounds that I have that are largest, I have some 9 micron here, and I've put it on some squishy foam on micro pour tape, and I put some in the bottom of a mouse pad, And so I've just taken that heavily biased burr off with a ceramic rod, and I'm just going to freehand try convexing the edge with 9-micron diamond to see if that finally rips off some of this ultra aggressive burr. Oh my goodness. 395. Way worse. And I don't think we need to try the foam. Although, I suppose for integrity's sake, I mean, I've already put in this much time. I may as well. Maybe I'll just hit it edge leading on this 600 grit diamond stone. Let's see how that goes. Bring in another stone to try to solve this mystery. Okay, came off the 600 grit stone. Did a quick grabbing of that large scale burr with the Spyderco rod. Feels nice and aggressive now. We're gonna hit this. This is a piece of foam from like an iPhone package or something like that, with some 3M micro pore medical tape with 9-micron stroppy stuff compound in it. I'm going to try to lay this down more because the 300 obviously damaged the edge in the last test. So I'm going to lay this down a little bit more and see if I can deeper it a little more gently. Okay, well, was not shaving off the 600 grit stone, and now is shaving, like a little messy, but you know, not horrible. That's, I guess, a good sign? Question mark? I don't know. This test has just really thrown me for a loop. Yeah, still in the 300s, 318. Well, I gotta get to bed. It's late night tonight here in New Zealand, and I've spent way too much time trying to sharpen this thing. I'd love to hear your stories. Have you guys ever had an experience similar to this where there was a certain knife that you just couldn't figure out how to deburr it? I would be very interested to hear. Interestingly, it has pleasing like aggression and bite. It feels quite nice, but I just can't get the best number to get down really low. Anyway, I don't think that I will continue doing the rope cut testing on this guy. The first time it did 2 cuts on a fine edge, and on the dual grit edge it did 3, which doesn't seem like as much as well-hardened 12C27 should be doing, but I think it's these deburring issues that are really preventing me from getting performance out of it. I think I'll still carry it in my EDC tournament. I still really like the knife. I don't know what else to try. Oh, honestly, if you guys have ideas of how to deburr stubborn steel, I would love to hear about it in the comments. For the rest of you, I will say peace out from the home slice. Take care, guys.